Hey guys. Okay, in this recording, um, I'm going to go over a little bit of how to play the game. Um, Besides the role playing aspect, that's kind of straightforward, but I'm going to show you sort of the main mechanic of the game. It's a cool picture. The main mechanic of the game. Okay, so in this game, the only dice that we have is a. Here, let me zoom in on this rolls. In case you're wondering what chapter, this is chapter 2, basic rules. Okay, so in this game, the only dice we have is 3 six-sided dice. That's it. I mean, you can add more, but your main tests are going to be done with 3 six-sided dice. Okay. So when I ask to make a test, just like in the other video, I might say, okay, so you want to stealth around and try and get behind somebody or whatever. I'll ask you to make a stealth check, okay, or a dexterity check. This is the character sheet we were talking about earlier. So my dexterity is 1, and I got a focus of stealth. So say, for instance, I want to stealth around. I'll roll 3 dice and I got a 13 with 3 six-sided dice. I add my dexterity, which is 1, so that would be 13 plus 1 is 14, and then a focus of stealth would be 16. And then you have a target number. Let's say the target number to pass the test was 13. You got a 16, so you're higher. You're either equal to or higher, so you pass the test, and then we continue on. You went around. You were able to get in the tent and steal the the plans for the fantasy Death Star or whatever. So so that's one type of test. Another test, you have what's called like a basic test, and then you have an opposed test. The basic test is exactly what I just explained. There's a test, you roll, and then you're good. Okay, an opposed test would be where you're fighting against somebody and you're making, say, there's 2 people stealthing and they're against you, and then you would both make that same test with dexterity and your stealth, and then whoever has the higher number wins. Real simple, real simple. Okay, so in this game you have 3 dice. 2 dice are the same color, and 1 is a different color. The one that is a different color is called the stunt die. In this game, you can perform what's called stunts, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But we'll get to that later, and I'll show you the basic mechanics of combat, because combat is pretty much the stuff that gets a little different. But so for the basic test, just so you know, if you're making that dexterity stealth, if you're making a navigation check or an intelligence check, a perception, a seeing check, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to roll 3d6 plus your attribute and plus any modifiers you might have, like focuses, so on and so forth, and or like if you have a certain equipment that gives you that, you're gonna add all your modifiers, and then if it equals or exceeds the test, you pass. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, so in combat, you have 2 different types of things you can do. You have major actions and you have minor actions. Okay, so major actions are all up here, and minor actions are down there. So in this game, you can perform either um, one major action and a minor action. You can perform 2 minor actions, but you cannot perform 2 major actions unless something happens to where it says you can. Normally, you cannot make 2 major actions. Okay, so let's go over the different major actions really fast. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Just to kind of show you what you can do. Okay, so an all-out attack. You attack an adjacent enemy with a hand-to-hand combat using your full weight. If you hit, you do +1 damage. So that means once you use your attack roll, when it comes to damaging, you get +1 damage. But whether or not you hit, you suffer -1 to your defense until the end of the next turn. So it's like you're making a haymaker. Charge, you move up to half your speed rounded down. and then make a melee attack, you gain +1 to your attack roll. Now, attack roll is when you're trying to see if it hits them, not your damage. Okay. Defend, you get +2 to your defense. So I don't know if you remember your defense is here. That's how much it takes for them to hit you. So you get a +2 to that until your next turn. So that's pretty cool. So heal, pretty simple. You provide a quick heal, first aid to an injured ally. You must be adjacent to your ally, and you must have bandages ready. Okay. This is a target number of 11 intelligence healing test. So that means whenever you roll your dice, you have to beat 11 or higher. If you are successful, your ally gets the amount of health equal to the stunt die. So remember that off-colored die? You have 2 regular colors and then 1 of a different color. Your stunt die, so if your stunt die was a 6, you get 6 plus your intelligence. So 6 plus your intelligence is 2, that's 8 health. Real simple, okay? And if you just want to do a standard melee attack, no added modifiers, you just no good, no bad, just standard. If they're 2 yards away, you just make a melee attack. Ranged attack, you fire or throw a missile weapon. A missile weapon is anything that is being launched. It could be a throwing axe, a throwing knife, a bow, a fireball, whatever. Okay, and it's got to be at a visible enemy within range. Each weapon has a range on it. This mainly comes into when if you're going to be using a board. We probably won't be using a board. I'll just be describing if you're in range or not, and that type of thing. Okay, so then you have run. You can move double your speed in yards. You cannot take this action if you're prone. Prone is like knocked down. You need to basically use a move action to stand up to do that. So run, if like somebody's running away from, or you just got to really get in that battlefield. Some things that will occur will be like you're going to have to do this, run, or just depending on if there's if you have to run from something, this is also where it comes into play. Or if you're trying to chase somebody, so on and so forth. Okay, so these are major actions. These you can only do 1 per turn. So when you start your turn, you choose 1 to do and you do it. Okay, and it can be in any order. Okay, unless it stipulates you can't. Okay, so minor action. This action allows you to start using certain powers or items such as fighting styles and potions. Most of the time, once you start looking into the stuff, like certain powers, it'll tell you what actions are required. It'll tell you in order to, say, pull out a grenade, you have to use a minor action activate just to pull it out. So, pretty simple. Aim, pretty much what you would expect. You take measure of your opponent. If your action is a melee attacker range, you get +1 bonus to your attack roll. Pretty simple. You can. So how you can structure it is you can aim your bow, and then when you release, you get a +1. So pretty simple. Guard up. This one is a little interesting. It's not that hard to follow, but it is a minor action. But I'll show you pretty much what this is. So you put your skill to use balancing action and defense. You add +1 or 2, your choice, to your defense until the end of the round. However, until the end of the round, not to your turn. That makes sense. So the end of the round, once initiative goes, you may be someone. It might be Joe, Brian, and then Jared. This is you're using guard up. Then it might be enemies, and then the end of the round because it starts over again. So the end of the round, that's when it completely loses it. So that's why guard up is a little bit better because it is, or defend, sorry, because it is your next turn right there. So anyways, you get a +1 or 2 to your defense. However, you suffer the amount you choose as a penalty to all tests you make, even a post test, for the remainder of the current round as well. So, for instance, if you guard up and then do something else, you can suffer a penalty. This is the key difference between guard up and defend actions. Guard up only lasts the end of the round, while defend lasts until the beginning of your turn. If you choose this as a minor action, you must do it before any major action you take this turn. And this is important. You cannot follow up guard up with defend. So you cannot do defend and guard up. Can't do it. Move, pretty easy. You move up to your speed and yard. So if you need to move and attack somebody, there you go. Prepare. You pick one major action and you prepare to execute. And okay, so this is pretty cool. So you pick a major action. So let's say we pick attack, okay, to prepare to execute and then end your turn. Anytime until your next turn, you can interrupt another character and take your prepared action immediately. If you don't use this by your next turn, the action is lost. You cannot take a prepared action if you've already taken a major action. Okay, so does that make sense? So say for instance, you want to do move and then prepare. You can do that, but you cannot do attack and then prepare because essentially that would give you two attacks per turn, two major actions, right? Because you can immediately use it again. So that's why. Press the attack. This one's pretty cool. So if like there's an enemy that's running and it's faster than you and you can't catch it, this is pretty cool. You can take this as a minor action. You stand ready to pursue an enemy. If they fall back or flee your blows, declare an adjacent enemy combat when you take this action. Until the beginning of your next turn, if the enemy moves away from you, you immediately move up to your speed and yards in direct pursuit of the enemy at no additional cost and actions. This occurs immediately after your foe. However, you can only use this minor action on an enemy that you have already successfully struck in melee combat this turn. Whether you inflicted damage or not, you had to successfully get that attack roll. When you make your move, it need not bring you to the adjacent enemy if you can't go that fast. In that case, you simply move as far as you can before stopping. Okay, so pretty makes sense. So if you have made a successful attack and you think the enemy might run, your minor action could be press the attack, and then if they try to run away from you, you start following them. So pretty cool. Um, and I know a lot of these sound like kind of weird. They're like more role playing stuff, but there's definitely gonna be times where I'm gonna add stuff like this in there. So you're gonna, we're gonna hopefully, you're gonna be using a lot of this stuff more than you might think. Okay, ready? You can unsheath the weapon, pull out a potion, or otherwise ready an item that is stowed as part of an action. You can take away something already in your hand. You can thus put out your bow. So pretty much like say for instance you have a bow and you want to switch to um, an axe or something or a sword, you would use this ready action. Okay, because it makes sense, right? Stand firm. You lower your weight. You prepare. This is kind of like until the beginning of your turn. Any enemy who uses skirmish or knock prone, those are stunts. We'll get to that in a second. Um, they don't immediately get it. They have to make a test, and you can pretty much see how that is. Um, so yeah, and it's a long one. You can see how it works. Cast variable actions. You attempt to cast a spell which requires a casting roll. This may be a major action, minor action, or free action depending on the spell. Okay, so in the magic tutorial, you can see where some stuff will say what kind of action it is, if it's a free, if it's a major or minor, and this is what it's talking about. Reload. You reload a missile weapon. This may be a major action, minor action, or free action depending on the weapon used, your talents and stunts. So again, this is kind of a see all your stuff. Whenever you're getting something, a talent or something, it'll tell you what you're doing. So that's it as far as the major action. So in combat, and it's your turn, you're choosing a major action and a minor action, or two minor actions, or don't do anything, whatever. So that's how it goes. So in a role playing game, or when we're in combat, this is kind of how this is going to look. Okay, so it's just pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It gives you a little bit of options. You're not just, oh, I'm just running here. No, you have to. It's adding more strategy to it. Okay. So when it comes to doing damage, okay, if you have, let's say, 5 armor, okay, and let's say the enemy does 10 damage to you, um, your armor soaks up whatever that 5 damage is. So, for instance, if it does 10 damage to you, your armor will soak up 5, and then you'll get hit for 5. Does that make sense? So, and like if your armor was 7. Let's say you got hit by 10, then you would only take 3 damage. So your armor is what soaks that up. But you got to be careful because your armor might give you a penalty of 2, or -2, how you want to see it. And this stuff happens, it affects different things. Like it affects your speed. Like you only be able to move 7 now, so on and so forth. And of course, the heavier the armor, the slower you move, and different stuff you can't do. So that's how that goes. Also, if, for instance, let me explain this. If there's what's called penetrating damage, if you were to take, let's say, 10 damage, penetrating damage, then what it is your armor rounded, halved and rounded down, I believe. So your armor is half. So if it's 6, it's kind of like your armor was 3. So that 10 damage normally would only do 4 to you, but since you're rounded down to 3, it's going to do 7. Does that make sense? Um, okay, so this is stunts. Okay, so remember what I was talking about when we said the off-color die. Okay, so anytime when you have 3 dice, so this, before I start that, the stunts, they're just like added bonuses on what you can do. So those major minor actions, those are stuff you can do all the time. Stunts are kind of like criticals in a way. And there's all kinds of different stuff you can do. Okay, so pretty much, I'm not going to explain all of them because they're all pretty simple once you read them. Okay, so with your 3 dice, okay, so you roll, 2 of them are one color. Like right now, I have 2 blue dice and 1 red. That 1 red die is called a stunt die. At any time, oh, there you go, man, I did a really good roll. Okay, so I'll explain the roll I just did. Okay, um, so I rolled on my dice. I rolled a 5, a 6, and the stunt die was also 6. Okay, so these 2 right here were blue, and this is red. So when you roll your 3 dice for a test, if at any time you get doubles, if you get triples, same thing. If you get doubles, either these 2 can be doubles, these 2 can be doubles. It doesn't matter. If you get doubles anyway, then you're going to look at your stunt die, which is that off-color die, and that's how many stunt points you get. And stunt points can be used to spend on this chart. So, like for instance, you're going to look at the stunt point cost. So, like I rolled a 6, so that means I get 6 stunt points to spend. Okay. So I can choose any of these stunt points. Now, most of them you cannot choose more than once. Um, but like skirmish, for instance, you can spend 1. So like let's say one. This costs 1 plus. So skirmish, you can move yourself or a target of your attack 2 yards in any direction for 1 stunt point each you spend. Okay, so like for instance, if I wanted to move, like if a guy was attacking a mage and he was really laying into him, I could use skirmish to move him and say I want to spend 2 stunt points to move him 4 yards away and out of reach of the mage because he's a melee attack. And melee attacks you can hit somebody with a melee if you're 2 yards away. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So like this one, rapid reload. You immediately reload a missile weapon. So I mean, you can see the interesting thing of that. You reload it. You don't have to spend that reload action to on your next turn or something. Okay. Knock prone. You knock an enemy down. And a prone foe gains +1 bonus on the attack roll. So anybody attacking him gets +1 to their attack bonus. Mighty blow. You inflict an extra 1d6 damage on your attack. So like if you have a weapon that does 2d6, well you spend 2 stunt points and you get a 3d6. And the cool thing is I have 6 stunt points. This is literally what I could do if I wanted to. I could use 2 skirmish, and he's attacking a mage. I knock him 4 yards away for 2 stunt points. Then I knock him prone, which any character making a melee attack against a prone character gets +1 against attack roll So now he's knocked on the ground and has to use a move action just to get up. Then I use Mighty Blow and inflict an extra d6 of damage. So I'm rolling 3d6 against him. And you can combo these, you know. Of course, some are going to, you know, not apply to others. Like Mighty Blow can apply to anybody, while, you know, Pierce Armor, or like what was the one, the Rapid Reload, is probably not going to apply to a warrior with a sword or something. But or you can do something like this, lightning attack. You make a second attack against the same enemy or a different one within range of sight. Um, you know, you basically get to make a whole another attack. Now you can't double up on this attack once you use it. If you roll doubles again, you can't keep doing it. That's the only thing. You can set up another ally. You can do this lethal blow. You get an extra 2d6 on your attack. So if you are a big bruiser and you got a 3d6 on a great axe, you use lethal blow and you get an extra 2d6. You're rolling 5d6 against them. Yeah, you're gonna do some damage. Um, so anyways, uh, so that's how stunts work. Now stunts, there are stunts for combat, and then if you watch the mage tutorial, the mage, if you look at some of the stunts, now that you understand how they work, the magic is going to have completely different stunts that you can do, and they're all pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions, let me know. Um, you can also, guys, look into grenades. They have their own set of rules. I'm not going to worry about them unless somebody's going to use them, and then we can tackle that whenever we use them. You know, whenever it comes up in the game. Um, yeah, pretty much. There's other stuff. You know, if like if you're mounted or you have flying or something like, or you know, just some different things that come up in the game. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention. Um, there are role playing stunts and exploratory stunts. So like if you are, let's say, just trying to do that stealth check we were doing before, you're trying to steal something, and let's say you get the same roll like this, a 5, a 6, and you get a huge roll. Not only do you pass it, maybe you are able to you're able to steal some more gold. I'm not sure if we're going to use the role playing stunts. We might. The role playing stunts are pretty interesting. They're like, if you get a stunt, you can spend like 3 stunt points to have the GM tell you extra information, you know, than you would have gotten, that type of thing. Um, they're decently straightforward. I don't know how much they could come into play. Like for instance, if you rolled stunt points and I told you all that there is to tell you, and then you're like, well, tell me more, you know, then I would just have to come up with something bogus. So it may not really work as well, but we can use them if y'all want to. And the role playing stunts, I forget where they're at. They're somewhere in here. If you go to is it the glossary or the index? I'm looking for the index. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, so stunt. So there you go, page 79. Spells 78. Role playing and exploration. Um, what page was that? So there you go. Here's exploration stunts. Speedy search. Speedy search. You complete your task half the time it would take. And the role playing stunts. That's another thing. Each round of combat is in 15 seconds. So once you go, all you guys go, then the bad guys go, then it starts over again. That's like a 15 seconds happen. It's kind of like everybody happened at once. It's 15 seconds, and then so like a minute. And the reason why you need to know that there, when you start getting into some of this magic, there's some spells that take time to cast. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, but besides that, I think that's it. So, I'll talk to you guys later.